Hello guys, today we're going to be making an extremely basic COVID-19 chart website. Basically, it will get COVID data and display a chart, just like the one you're seeing here. Now it's extremely basic, so as you can see, the labels are just this raw timestamp, but you can go more in depth and later use the date constructor and get a more precise date like January 1st, January 2nd. And but here we do have a working chart, and as you can see, if we hover over any point, it says daily cases and tells how many there are. So there was 29 that one. And you can select any country you want. So like we can go to um, this country, and as you can see, we got data for this country now. So yeah, let's jump into making it. So first, what we're gonna need to do is import some things. So first, we're gonna be importing a font, and for our thing, we're gonna be using Montserrat, and you can go to Google Fonts to quickly get that. We'll just paste that in our HTML. By the way, I'm going to be making this on CodePen, but you can use whatever code editor you want to use. So there we got our font, and now one other thing we're gonna be using Chart.js to make the chart. So to do this, we can actually head over to chartjs.org, and you can see it says Get Started. You just press that, and all you need to do is go to their getting started place and copy a few things. So first you want to copy um, actually their CDN, so just copy the script tag, paste it into your head tag, which I don't have because I'm Copen, but if you do, you can do that. And um, then the next thing you want to do to actually get the chart is just copy this code, and it'll do everything for you, but we'll customize it a little bit so it displays the data we want to. So here in our JS place, so you can make a script file to write your JavaScript, but I'm just gonna do it here. So I'm gonna make a function called display chart for this, and I'm just gonna paste all of this into here. And so this is good. It's a little bit out of order, so we can just let's just format it a little bit, and there we go. And if you just do display chart, just call the function here, you can see well, actually it's not going to work just yet. We're going to need to copy this one line, this canvas element into our HTML. And now okay, there's an error. um Oh yeah, I forgot to write function. My bad. Okay, so there we can move on, and as you can see, it shows a nice chart for us. So okay, so we already got the chart part down. Now we just need to get the data and do a few more things. So just a few basics. Let's just add a h1 tag in here, and there we go. We got an h1 tag, and we can just say COVID-19 chart, just like I showed. Um, Class. I'm gonna just give this a title class, and we're gonna have a select box element. So that's gonna be there, and as you can see, it appeared here, but we don't have any options in it yet. But we can just give this also a class and just call the class country options, and there we go. Now we're going to be using the blue color and some fonts, so let's actually set up this, and let's just say body, and let's just say our font family excuse my spelling, um Montserrat, if I spelled that right, which I probably didn't. Forgot a T, I think. There we go, and that should be good. And let's just make some CSS variables, and so let's just write our blue is going to be a color that I got from HTML color codes. So let's just, it was something like this. So let's grab that and let's just paste it here, and there we go. So we got our blue, and now what we can just do is grab our title class and style that one, and let's just say its color, which is the header, and just say its color is blue. And as you can see, that's good. I'm going to just do text dash align, and we can make it center, so it's nice like that. So we're already somewhat there. Now let's customize our chart a little bit. So first, over here it says my first data set, but we can go over to our JS, and as you can see over here it says label, but we don't want to call this. We want to call this daily cases, so we can fix that. That's probably fixed now. Another thing is this, but this is arbitrary. You can make this also the color we used in our CSS. So um, so let's just paste that here. And for the, actually let's not paste that one there. Let's paste that one in the border color. But let's make the background color uh, the lighter one, which I already have here. And we can just copy that, and we can just paste that over here, which is going to be the background color for our graph. So as you can see, it's already looking quite similar to this. One thing we're going to do is that the border, for my liking, is a little bit thick. So we can just do border width is 1. And as you can see, that will make the graph's border pretty thin. So there we go. We have our basic graph set up. Now we're going to do so now we're going to get the data. In my tutorial, we're going to be getting the data from, we're actually going to get it from uh, Postman and their COVID data. And if you scroll down a little bit, I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. And you don't need to know this. You don't need an API key for this one, but we're going to be using a few endpoints. One of the endpoints we're going to be using is the countries endpoint. So you can go to countries, and we can just copy this endpoint, and we can come back here, and we're going to make a function first to get the countries, because we're going to need to know what country we want to get our data for. So let's just say get countries. Wait, actually, let's say it's a function, and then get countries, and then we can make a simple fetch API call, and we can just do, well, first let's write a variable. Let's just call this endpoint and set it equal to what we just copied and pasted, and now we can fetch this endpoint. So we can write endpoint, and then it's gonna return a promise, and we can just write then and write response. And just so we can see what's responding, let's just write response, and let's just do also a catch, and just for now let's just do error, and let's just console dot warn our error, and there we go. And so now if you see the response, so if we go to the console over here, uh, we need to call get countries, so let's just call get countries once. um, and now we should see it most likely will respond A200. Okay, so what we can do from here, we can just simply get the JSON data. It's the data it's returning, simply by just writing response dot JSON, and then we can actually write another then, because this will also write give a promise, return a promise, and we can just write countries, or it's basically the data, um, and let's just now console.log what we're getting, which is the countries, all the countries that this API has. So so as you can see, it's going to return this huge array of all the country names, as well as a few other details which we don't need. We just need that country thing. Um, and so what we can do from here is actually pass this along to another function that we're going to be calling. It's basically going to be called fetch. Um, so we can just say get COVID data, and write function again at the beginning. Don't know why I keep forgetting. And let's, in this, we can actually get a country. Well, actually, let's not do it there. So we get all the countries, and we're just going to from here get COVID data. So we're gonna get the COVID data, um, but before that, we actually want to actually keep all the countries inside of this select. So actually, before we jump ahead to that, let's actually make some option text. So let's first do countries dot for each country. Um, let's basically make a option element. So let's just do const option equal document dot create element option, sorry, not options, option, and let's give this an attribute of an so the value, right? So let's just write first. Let's actually write the country name. So we can just say country name, and let's write const before that. Const country dot, and we saw earlier that this has a you had to write dot country to get its country value. Because this okay, this returns an object. Country is an object, and it has a property called country, which actually tells you the name. So that's the country name. And what we can do, option dot set attribute, because we're gonna have to set it a value. So the name is value, and the second thing is the country, what we want to set the value to, and we want to set to the country value. Also, we want to display something for the option, so we have to do option dot inner HTML is equal to country name, and now we have this. All I need to do now is set it to this um, select element. So first we want to query that select element. So let's just go up here and get countries um, select element, and let's just do document dot query selector, and here we can query select what we called it. So we gave this um, a class of country options. So let's just do dot country options, and there we go. So we query selected that, and let's just copy this variable name, and let's go all the way down here, and let's just say simply country select element dot append child um, option. And all we did now is we're gonna have a huge um, a list of all countries. Now nothing happens if we select it, but that's what we're gonna work on in a minute. So what we're gonna do now is first we're just gonna make a variable at the top, and we're just gonna call it, and we're just gonna say let current country, and we're not gonna assign it any value yet. We're just gonna initiate it. Um, and so there we go. Now what we're going to do down here is we're going to set that current country equal to whatever is by default selected, which is the first option tag, option element in the select list. So what we can just do is get that country select element. We can get its children, which is all the options, and we just want to get the first one, so we can just do 0 because this will return an array, and we just want its value, which is the name of the country. So we can just set current country equal to that. And what we can do from here is now we have a current country, which is by default whatever it chooses. So like here, it's like this country, right? So that's our default country, and so that's what current country is going to be equal to once this get countries thing is called. And what we can do from here is do something like um sorry, get COVID data. That's the function we name, right? So get COVID data, and we can just call this, and we can just pass it. So we actually don't have to pass anything. So we can just do get COVID data, and it will now get the data and display it on the chart, which this actually will call that display chart will be called from get COVID data. Right now, it doesn't update because we're not actually fetching the COVID data, but we will do that shortly. Um, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna make it so when we click on each of them, we're going to actually, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to get the COVID data. And in order to get the COVID data, first we're gonna get another endpoint. So let's just make a const endpoint, and we're gonna set this equal to something. And so on my already done one, we can actually just copy it. So let's just copy this, and um, let's just paste it. Actually, let's paste it inside of them. And actually, let's make them backticks and have like a template literal here. And so now this country. So actually, we do want to pass in something. So let's just write country here. In the fetch data, country is just going to be the current country, and which in this case right now is this for initial one, this country. So now what we can do is from here we can now get fetch it. So same way how we fetch the data here, we're gonna fetch it here. So let's just pass an endpoint, and it's again gonna return a promise, and we can just do that. And just like the other one, it's gonna give a response, hopefully 200 okay, which is good. And just write response.json because it's getting a JSON response. And then we can write another then because this is also gonna return a promise. And then in here we can just write data, and we can just console log this data. And let's also just quickly write dot catch at the bottom, and let's just write error, and if there's an error, let's just console dot warn the error. So there we go. And now if you see in our thing, it's going to get a huge array of um, data for our country, which is, I can't pronunciate it, but this country, and as you can see, this is good. So it's returning the data. Now all we need to do, since we have the data, is pass it over to the display chart. So let's actually write that display chart function inside of here, and let's just pass in this data, and we can get it over here, and now we have this data. Okay. um, Now what we can do is start adding that data to this chart over here, because currently this chart doesn't have the data we're getting. So what we can do is, again, just once again, we can just console log the data just to again see all the different things it has to offer. So again, this is gonna be a really super basic like thing, so it's not gonna be super fancy, but as you can see, we have a few things. We got confirmed, we got country, and we got date. So for the dates are gonna be basically our uh, down here, the x-axis labels. So we can write in the label section, sorry, not the label section, I'm sorry, yeah, the labels section over here though. We can just write data dot map, and we can just say each day, and just return the day dot capital D because it was capital. Not it's not a function. Sorry, so many errors. But now we're gonna get all of this down here. Now we got all the um, times. Basically, we got the x-axis labels. But we need to start actually graphing that data. It's still not graphing our data. It's graphing this array of data, which we don't want. We actually want to graph our. So actually, we're going to create another variable in this display chart function, and we can just call this const daily cases, and we can just set this equal to data dot map, and let's just again say day, and we're going to do a whole bunch of things. For now, let's just return the most basic thing, which is day dot confirm. I think that's what it's called. And let's actually put add that into here, so we can just write uh, daily cases, and as you can see, now it's actually gonna graph it, but it's graphing the confirmed, like the total cases. So like the first day there was one case, but the next day was three cases, but that's a total. And for our purpose, like we're going to be making it so the graph displays the daily cases, not the total cases. So to do this, we're just gonna do something a little funky here. So what we're gonna do is we're actually also gonna get the index. So let's write day, comma index, and um, let's write if index, which basically if the index is 0, then it's gonna be a false value, not a true C value. If you know what true C's and false C values are, and what we can do if index, basically if it's not 0, we can get day dot confirmed. So like pretend today there was 3 cases, and yesterday there's 2 cases. So we can minus it by the yesterday's cases. So we can just do um, data, all the data and the index, but index minus 1 because we want to get the previous day, and you want to get confirmed. Sorry, I spelled that wrong. Confirmed, and now we got that, but let's pretend yesterday there were uh, less cases than today, and it's actually no more cases yesterday than today, then it's gonna actually give a negative value. So we just want to do mat dot absolute value, um, and so that's always gonna bring a positive number, and we just want one more thing to our thing, which currently doesn't have, is what if it is the 0, the index is 0. In that case, we just want to return day.confirmed and do no subtracting at all. And so now, as you can see, for the most part, we're almost done. We got the graph, and you can see some days there's 0, some days there's 1. It all depends. And so there we go. We got that all done. All we need to do now is make it so that when we click on different countries, it actually updates. So what we can do to do that is basically down here we can give the country select element, which is just again this select box, and just do an event listener, add an event listener, and we can just do click, and we can do a function, and that function is basically going to fetch the data again. The what's it called the get COVID data function, but it's going to, instead of the country being it's going to be current country, but right now the current country doesn't change, right? It's just we just set it once when we get all the countries, but we don't update it. So to update it, basically what we want to do is when we click on something here, we want to um, get that country. So to get the country we clicked on, all we need to do is actually find the current country that is selected. And it's actually not that hard to do it. So we can just get const current index. Basically, it's an array of countries. So we need to just get the index that is selected. So right now it's 0, right? So let's just get it. So what we can do to do that is, again, we can get this country select element and just do selected index, and this is going to return a number, and I'll just console log this, console log current index, and if you see when we click it, it's just going to say 0. If we do like something else, it's going to be 9, right? You see, so it's updating the index. Now we need to just get um, so let's just get the children of this country select element. Let's just say uh, actually let's just do country um, const country selected, and let's just all we need to do to do that is get this element again and get its children, all its children, and just write current index inside of it and just do dot value, which is just going to return the country name. And what we can now do is console log here. So we can just do countries selected. Oh my god, I'm just gonna wait, what am I doing? Okay, so I'm just gonna copy paste this into here, and now if everything goes right, it should work. And if you click it, it says this country. Now if you click US minor outlying islands, and you see it comes over here. Now instead of just console logging this, we can actually write it here. Country selected is the country we want to pass on, and let's just make the current country, which is a variable we set up at the top, equal to country selected. And now everything should work. If I click Australia, it shows Australia's data. Uh, oh, one other tiny problem you're gonna notice is that this charts are getting stacked on top of each other. Basically, every time we select a different country, a new chart is on top of another chart. So it's going to be a tiny glitch. What we can do to fix this issue is basically um, make replace the canvas every time. So let's just make it so um, let's just make a div, and in this div, um, we can basically right, let make it just give it a class of chart div, and instead of writing this canvas physically here, let's just remove it temporarily. It's gonna cause some errors because what we just did, but what we can do, we can go to this display chart area, and we can basically, first of all, actually at the top, you wanna get this chart, um, sorry, chart chart div and set it equal to document dot query selector, if I can spell, and make it equal to chart div. And there we go. And now what we can do in the display chart area, we can do we can make a new canvas. So we can equal the canvas to document dot create element, and we just create the element we want to create is a canvas, right? So let's just make a canvas, and what we can do is give this canvas plus a um, a attribute, so set attribute, and let's just set this attribute to ID, and the value you want to give is my chart, right? This is what our chart was looking for. Whoops, I did not copy paste that correctly, and you paste it here, and now you have that. And now what we can just do is in the chart div, we can just append child um, canvas, and now everything's good. The only thing we need to do is that now you're gonna still see the problem occurring, because even though we're uh, making a new canvas, we're not removing the old one. So all we need to do is every time we're getting the countries and it's successful, before it gets the um, sorry, not every time we're getting countries. So every time we're getting the COVID data, um, when it's doing display chart, just before that, we just want to do in the chart div dot inner HTML, and we just want to set this equal to nothing, so it gets rid of the previous chart. And so now if we like click on something like US, oh sorry, this doesn't have any data. Some things don't have data, but if you go to something that does actually have data, like this, see now the glitch is not happening. At this point, you're practically done. The last thing we're just gonna do is style the select because it looks a little boring. So we gave this a class of country options, and what we can do is dot country options, and we can just give this a margin left of 50% to, and just translate. negative 50%, and now you're going to see it's in the middle. That's all good. And one other thing we want to do is webkit-appearance, and we're just going to set this equal to none. I know in Safari this is going to look really weird if you don't do this, because Safari applies like its own styles for some reasons. And just to make it a little bit more prettier, you can do a height of 35 pixels, a padding of um, 10 pixels, but we want to do box sizing, border box too. So now everything should look nice, and let's just add a font family of, actually, no, we're good, I think, we're good. And let's just add a border of 2 pixels solid war, and let's just do that blue color we set initially, and this all should look pretty good. And now if you select another country, um okay, sorry, we don't want this on the top or bottom. Let's just do 0 pixels to, and then, and so this should, that's weird. um Actually, let's just remove that altogether. And now it should be good. You select a country, it works. Some countries don't have data, but it has. Now you can see, um, you can hover over the points, and you will see all the data. It says daily cases 142. Now you can take a step further again, as I mentioned in the beginning, and use a date constructor and make this like, say October 21st, or like over here it's November 8th. But I didn't do this in tutorial. You could do this at your own wish.